$90,000 for proposed 2019 capital projects, which will not be done this year. Those projects that will not be done this year, that total up that $92,000, are surge protectors for the clubhouse, security cameras for the clubhouse, furniture, wall, door, lobby, and bar area, the wall that was going to block off the bar area, additional cart parking, which went away, and a rear deck enclosure, which totals up to $92,000 of projects that were put on there. I'd like to have a motion to bring this to the table for discussion.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve and a second by Mr. Farley.
Bring it to a discussion.
Bring it to a discussion. Open for discussion by the residents and the board.
You want Bill?
Do you want to do the presentation? You have a presentation put together for it?
I could say a few words.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, as some of you may or may not know, pickleball is it's been around since 1965. Former Congressman Pritchard and two of his neighbors got together one summer and tried to entertain their kids by developing this game all on their own. And they did it from rules they used: volleyball, badminton, and table tennis. So pickleball has been around 50 years, but now, just now, it's really begun to get popular. I personally know of some people that I played pickleball with that looked at moving into our community, and I encouraged them to do so. But when we didn't have pickleball, they chose Timber Pines. And that's just an example of how popular I think this game is right now. And it's not just for young people, it's young people, middle-aged, our group, older middle-aged. And so, I'm Bill Torrey, I'm the chairperson of the Ad Hoc Pickleball Committee. Francine Collins was our co-chair, Sandra Harris, our secretary, and two other members were Mary Socker and Jim Glenn. When we first had our first 2 or 3 meetings, we asked the office to publish that. And then the last several months, we have not had a meeting. After as a committee, we went out and looked at about a half a dozen different sites in the community. Where could pickleball be erected and played? We tried to judge the sites on was there water, electricity, was there shelter, was there parking, was there room for expansion? When we used all the pros and cons for the different sites, we came up with currently 2 sites that the county has approved, which are adjacent to the tennis courts in the parking area across the street. I don't know if there's any, what we're looking at is the construction is going to be 10-foot tall fencing with windscreening around it, 3 courts, asphalt with paint and striping, and LED lighting. I know you're probably wondering also about the cost of that lighting, for example, is something like $1.02 a month because it's LED. It's extremely efficient. Was there any questions by the board or president?
How many courts, Bill?
3 courts. And the logic behind the 3 courts is that we need 1 court to encourage people that have never played the game. They need to feel safe and protected when they go out on that court, that they're going to be able to learn the rules, and that could be. We need a 2nd court for people that have learned the rules and are looking at trying to get the strategy down for that. But again, they don't need the pressure of the more skilled players. And finally, a 3rd court for the players that are skilled, really know how to play the game and want to play it hard. So it kind of protects everyone in different stages of the game so that it can be enjoyed by everyone.
Bill, excuse me, you said there are 2 locations, 2 possible locations.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you decide on one as being better than the other?
Do you object to either one?
No, and some of it will be worked out with the contractor. The county has already approved 2 sites, and they're very close to each other. Across the street from this clubhouse in the parking area.
But where exactly is that? There's a mention of taking down a tree. All right, where is that?
Talking across from the pavilion or farther back?
Adjacent to, if you're familiar with the tennis courts, when you go in the very first entrance coming in from Grand Club down Scenic Hills Drive, the first tennis courts that you come to, that's court 1. Right there, that parking is one site, and then directly across between that and the clubhouse, there's a dead-end section that you would enter from the second entrance from Scenic Hills. That would be the alternative site.
They're both across the street.
Did I clear that up? Were you able to understand that?
Yeah, I walked.
As Bill had mentioned, it's a very popular sport, and as a member of the pickleball committee, Jim Finn, one of the things that my wife and I thought, 3 years ago, when we moved here, there was pickleball. Oh, great, because I had it in Bradenton, I had it wherever we lived. Well, pickleball was putting tape on the tennis courts. Didn't go over too well, as you can quite imagine with the tennis players. So that was removed, so no more pickleball. So what are we doing? Twice a week, Bill, the rest of us, are driving, maybe 10 miles north of us to play pickleball, where we stand around for 2.5 hours and maybe get in 2 games. The rest of the time, we're waiting and waiting and waiting. 2 10-minute games, okay? Because it's such demand. Now, all we're proposing here, and by the way, could I have a showing of hands? How many people are really interested in pickleball? Can I have hands, please? Now, just to give you some idea, this is the fastest growing sport in the country for seniors. The fastest growing. Because so many of us can't get out there and do the tennis thing anymore. So here's pickleball, nice and easy. It works so well. And the proposal that Bill and the committee have, I think, is very sensible, and it can be a big draw for Heritage Pines. When people know that pickleball is offered here, it's another draw to why they want to live here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are 3 courts enough? Should we be voting for 4?
If it's that popular, you're the big yeah.
Just to answer your question about the 4th court. In the 2 locations that the county has already approved, we could build on. We could put a 4th court in, but it would be really tight right now.
Thank you.
Gail Kalin, Whisper Greens again. My concern is you're going to get less parking spots. I was here last night for a seminar from Oak Hill. There were barely any spots to find to get here with the activities, cards and whatever. So my concern is losing parking spots.
Yeah, sure.
Part of the problem with the parking lot right now is the bunker renovation, which is finishing up tomorrow. They're taking up the whole, what direction is that? I'll say the bottom section of the parking lot. That whole section's being taken up right now. And we do have the parking lot at the far end of the building that a lot of people don't utilize. So we're still okay with parking spots. It's just that one end right now is all taken up with the sand, which will be done very soon.
Carla Becker, Regal Pines. When I grow up, I might play pickleball. I don't know. I don't know.
My question is, we're looking at, and while I appreciate that, we're not utilizing those funds, but that's another conversation as to why we're not utilizing, why we're not completing some of those projects that were proposed. That's another conversation. And I respect the fact that we're trying to use the money, but my question is, when we look to make these kind of expenditures for the community, what type of process have we gone through to document the actual utilization of this new amenity? We know there are some people who would love to have a pickleball court. I get that. My question is, how many people will actually be using the court? What is our utilization? What is our utilization of the tennis courts that we could not, Bill Torrey, don't kill me, that we could not have retrofitted a couple of courses of the existing tennis courts? I'm just asking for the documentation of the usage to justify this type of an expenditure. So, and the other question is, still not clear, I think a lot of people are still not clear where we're talking about, but if you're talking about that far parking lot and you're putting up courts there, I don't know what kind of view the driving range people who all live along the driving range, will that be some kind of an obstructive view? That's the least of it. Okay, the dead end one where it's closer, is it closer to the bathroom in the pavilion? Okay. Still really important before we make any kind of expenditures to have justification. That's what we all did in business. That's what we do in our house. But I can always justify a cruise. Thank you very much.
I'm going to piggyback on what Carla said is the utilization. MJ Johnson, Tall Pine Village again. I know I've never even seen pickleball, so I'm totally clueless. But I know we have several bowling leagues here. At least 80, 100 people bowl, so why not bowling? We need to find out what people want. How many people will play pickleball? Is it 30 people? Is it 60? Is it 160? And I don't mind spending the money for something that people enjoy and it gets them out there and gets them active and it draws more people to buy here, although there's no homes for sale basically right now. But the important thing is how many people will use that? What other activities will it be next year that's the up and coming activity? If people say, oh, well, I'll only move in a community with bowling alleys. You know, I think you need to take a little survey. What activities, and list a couple of choices and see what people want to spend that money on. Because I don't know, you know, there was a show of hands for pickleball and there was a good percentage of the room that does play, but I guess you're here because it's on the agenda and you want it, which I'm great with that. And maybe it's something I'd see it and want to play it, but I think we need to really carefully view if we're going to spend money for a new amenity, that it will be utilized and there isn't something next year that we're going to say, oh, we should have done that instead. That's all.
Thank you.
Betty Fincher again from wherever. Are you going to give lessons? Pickleball lessons?
There has not been an association formed yet.
Are you going to head it? Oh. I have no idea what pickleball is. I've never played it. I've never seen it. But every buyer coming in here has asked me, do we have a pickleball court? How come it's the fastest growing sport in the United States? Well, maybe we should all go visit a pickleball court and see how it's played. I think it's probably a good idea to have a pickleball court because it's always being brought up. I have a couple of girlfriends that play, that have the equipment, that have set something up in the grass to play it, and I think the cost of having that amenity and being able to list it, we would more than realize the money back in activities, people coming to the bar after and spending money to try and cool down, etc. So that's all I have to say, but I want lessons. Oh, and I have one other idea. When you decide which place to put it, pick the one that is easier to expand upon. Thank you.
Betty, you did say people would really like to live in here and they'd be willing to buy the houses to play pickleball. Maybe they'd be willing to pay the $2,000 for the capital buyer's fee because of the pickleball court.
I don't have a problem with the buyer's capitalization fund. I do not. I think I can sell that. I have a problem with the $2,000. I didn't have a problem with the $1,500, but we didn't get $1,500 approved. How are we going to get $2,000 approved?
We're gonna have pickleball.
Let's continue on, let's continue on here, okay?
Rosie, I realize the subject that's on the table now is pickleball, but I'm going back to something you said originally, Steve. Of the
We're
list
open
of,
for discussion on pickleball right now.
but this
Discussion.
question goes to the amount of funds being spent on pickleball. One of the things that was eliminated was the surge protection for lightning strikes in the clubhouse, and yet, haven't we had 2 occasions where the clubhouse has lost internet and phones because of a lightning strike? So,
Bright house box that was struck.
but,
Outside equipment. Right, that's not, has nothing to do with clubhouse.
okay, would the surge protection that was suggested to be a capital improvement have stopped that?
No, it would not have stopped it. Bright House had to, or Spectrum, I still call them Bright House because that's how long I've had them. They had to come and replace something in their box. As soon as they replaced that, we were up and running. Had nothing to do with our building. Our building wasn't struck, it wasn't the building, it was the Spectrum box. And we had to go higher and higher within Spectrum to get somebody here quicker to get it done. Had nothing to do with our building.
Okay, thank you.
Both times, it was their box.
There is surge protection on our main coming into this building.
I don't know if anybody heard it, Gary said that we do have surge protection on the main line coming in the building.
Scott Tavo, Pinecrest Village. I have no skin in the game for pickleball, but during our research with the Ad Hoc Capital Fund Committee, and we were talking to the general managers of other communities, they basically relayed to us, and we asked the question, what kind of new amenities are you doing? Expanding their fitness centers, indoor walking tracks, those kinds of things. But every time pickleball came up, they were building pickleball courts. And one guy told us that they put in 4 courts, and in 1 year, it became so popular that they had to build 4 more courts. And that was how pickleball was going.
I just wanted to follow up on Scott. I know of 2 communities that had to do the exact same thing. They put in 2, next thing you know, they put in 4, then they put in 6. It's growing very fast.
Steve, I would like to move to table this until we get all the plans complete. We've got the cart before the horse. We don't even know which location we're going to depend on. And I want to play pickleball, and I really want this done, but I want it done right, and I don't want to experience some of the things we did with the wood shop. So I propose we table this for a month, study it, and come up with all the answers. I don't know if I have a second, but I do move to table it.
Linda, real quick before you go to that, the Sports Surfaces, who they're recommending to use, has looked at both locations, and there's no difference to them which location. I just want you to know that.
Yeah,
just so
I
you're
want
aware.
things to be solid before we go, because we had so many experiences with previous projects that I think we need to get our act together.
If it's not going to be built this year anyway, will delaying it 1 month make a difference?
Yes.
I believe we were going to try to build it this year. We could get it done this year.
Oh, Steve said
Yes.
nothing.
We're going to try our best to get it built this year, correct, guys? Yes. Please.
So many factors that have been a delay. 3 years ago, we had a petition signed by at least 50 people for a pickleball court. Well, there were delays. We had to get this, we had to get that. We could just mess around here and just delay it for another year. But you've heard the reports here, they're all positive. Even a real estate agent says, people say, do you have a pickleball court here? I mean, what's to hold it up? Let's proceed on this. Bill has already, and the committee have looked at different sites. We look at that area that's next to the tennis courts right now, where we can use the existing lighting of the tennis courts, so we can move on that. And maybe it's just starting off with 2 courts, just that, just to get it started, and then let us snowball from that point and see how it grows.
I'll be very brief. I just moved here from Seattle. We got here August 15th. Everybody's talking about pickleball. You spent a lot more time talking about long-term capital improvements. Pickleball in Seattle was the hot thing in the early 90s. Everybody and their brother built a pickleball court in their backyard. Now everybody's using it for whatever. So pickleball is no longer played at all in Seattle, but it was very hot in the early 90s. The point I'm making is this something that is going to be viable to you in 15 years? Because that's what you're talking about, keeping this community viable. If it is, go for it. But really, what I'm hearing is not a lot of studies, but it's the hot thing today. And the one lady made a very, very good point. And that's what you should really consider, because that's what you're spending time on. What's the long-term improvements and benefits to the community? Thanks. Whoops. George Daniels, Regal Pine.
We have a motion right now on the table, a motion to table this issue for a month. Is there a second?
Yes,
Second.
I think.
Joyce, second. Okay. Any other discussion?
Yes.
Joyce, go ahead.
Yes. Yes, third time's a charm. It's not that I don't want a pickleball court or 2 or 3. Yes, I definitely want it. I do not feel comfortable voting on something that I am not 100% sure of. I would like to know the exact location and what is involved, and I think I owe it to the residents to make my vote, although it'll probably be yes. I think we can delay it 1 month, unless you all want it immediately.
Okay, we'll take a vote if we're going to table this, motion to table this for 30 days. Have your motion to table it for 30 days?
Did she say 30 days?
Until next board meeting.
I asked her for 30 days and she said yes, 30 days.
The next board meeting. If it's 30 days.
Okay. Joyce, will you call the roll to motion this to table?
Joyce or Linda, could you tell us, the ad hoc committee, what exactly is it that you're not sure of?
I haven't had time to study it, quite honestly. We just got it in our packets. And then yesterday, I was told the location was changing. And so it just isn't fair for us to make a snap decision, and I want to make sure we have all our ducks in a row and make sure we do it right. Because this board has made mistakes on other projects and take a lot of criticism. I want to be applauded for the decision we make rather than criticized for it. And I think 1 month will give us that time to determine that. I really want pickleball courts, don't get me wrong, I do. But I want to make sure we've got all things planned correctly.
Okay, my question was just which part of it you were unclear on. You don't know which parking area or what?
Yes.
How is it you'll get your ducks in a row there?
We would like to know before we vote.
Okay, so there's no more that I can tell you about it. It's something you need to go out and look at the parking space.
Yes. Bill, we also heard yesterday that you had also been looking at other companies and they were bidding cheaper than the companies that we have in front of us.
No, that's incorrect.
All right, good, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion to table this to the next meeting. Joyce, read off the roll if you would, please.
All right, Jim, do you want it tabled?
I do not want to table it, no.
Linda?
Yes.
Joyce? Yes, tabled.
No.
No?
No.
Gary?
Yes.
Mike, yes.
4-3, to not table this. Okay, we have more discussion from the board on this motion.
I understand where the ladies are coming from very clearly. I too had questions. I came up, spent a lot of time asking questions, spent time in the rain looking at the parking lot sites yesterday, walked around. I would only support it if I call secondary location, that's in the middle of the dead-end parking lot, is the one to be used because it uses three or four less parking spaces. It also allows for emergency access for emergency vehicles to come in the driveway instead of taking away a driveway that's there now. And I think it's a better site. If it's done in that site, I would support it. And I have no problem with that. I would authorize, at this point, I'm not sure, I have a good question of where all the pricing came from. Were they actual sealed bids or quotes?
They were quotes that came.
Those were quotes. They were.
Okay, I think I would authorize, moving forward and authorizing the board to get sealed quotes for the sealed bids for the construction. I think you can get them fairly rapidly and would not delay the construction in any way, shape, or form. But that would be my feeling on it.
Yeah, the only problem with bids on that is some of them will not bid the complete project, but we can definitely do that if that's what the board.
It's a second site. I know they looked at both, but I would like to see sealed bids actually come in and on that other site.
Any more discussion?
The board is supposed to get all of this information at least 4 days prior to a vote, and we got the information yesterday.
I'm sorry.
No.
No?
Last Thursday.
No.
Oh, no, the new location yesterday.
There's actually no location in the request.
If you
No,
remember,
shouldn't there be a location in our request?
go back to the beginning of Bill's presentation, he said that there was 2 locations that were picked out that were approved to put this at. And that is the second one that Gary just spoke about at the end of that area, so.
So which location are we voting on?
We're not voting on it right at the moment. We're not voting on the exact location. We are going to vote that it's going to be the secondary location that was picked, okay? But we're going to vote on getting for approval to get 3 bids, sealed bids for this project, okay?
So, Steve, in essence, we're voting for this to go forward, but with the caveat that we will get 3 sealed bids, and that it'll be at the dead end, the location will be the dead end parking lot versus the drive-through part.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, that's our motion.
Okay, so we need to amend this.
We have to amend, with your statement and comment there, you want to make that the amendment to it? Kim, you got it?
Yes.
I got it.
Okay, Kim's got it. Do we have a second to that?
Second.
So
Okay, we have from Bob McGowan. All those in favor, raise your hand for aye. State aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Mr. Torrey, your ad hoc committee is dissolved. Thank you. Thank you for all your help and all your work and everything you put into this. I know you guys did a great job. Thank you so much. We will be calling upon you, though, as this goes forward, to help, the board and everything that's going to be going on, okay? Thanks, man, appreciate it. Third item on the agenda, I'm off the hot seat, this is now Herb Hurley's.
Thanks. Just looking to ratify the emergency reserve request for replacing the air conditioner for the PAC room, the original 20-ton unit, which is behind the curtain. It's the original unit from when it was built, had an oil leak, bad evaporator coil, no longer able to get the R22 Freon, bad bearings in the blower, it was about to go. It probably wouldn't have made it much longer, so we had to make the emergency request to get it done, and it is done and complete, so I just need that to be ratified, please.
And all those funds came out of the reserve fund.
Correct, which was set to be done this year anyways. It was just when we did it.
Discussion?
Yeah, the only question I have is the $2,980 for fire doors. Were there doors there to begin with?
No.
So they are new doors that we installed.
Have we heard if we have to do the fire doors yet?
We're putting them in and we put it next Tuesday.
Okay, yeah, there was no doors, so we had to open the wall up to, they put it in, then built the walls around it. When they
Now, I would say that would be a capital improvement, not a reserve item.
There was an existing door so you could access for changing filters, but it was a small door, so we expanded the opening, put the fire door in. It was a fire rated wall.
Okay. Any further discussion? Residents? All those in favor, did we do a motion?
I make a motion that we move forward with it.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Fourth item, submitted by Mr. Herb Hurley, approval of funds to perform full renovation of the greens with the Champion Ultra Dwarf and the closure of the golf course for 12 weeks, beginning May 6, 2020, from the reserves funds not to exceed $275,000. Herb?
Thank you, Steve. You said most of the background. The greens of our golf course are starting to get a lot of mutation, and they're starting, as you can see by the pictures in your packet, you can see the yellow. If anybody wants to see them, I can show them to them. We're looking to change that over to a Champion Ultra Dwarf, which is one of the newer blades of grass. It's much better grass, a little different maintenance on it, but it's a much better grass. We did go out and try to get quotes, and they were sealed. We had one bid, and we had three non-bids, companies that just did not want to put in a bid to do it. So my recommendation is to go with down to earth and have that done. Also on the budget side, which you have in your packet, that is just a very preliminary one. But with the first round of budgets, there's no impact, even with the closure, to the residents of our community. Our budget for next year looks very good at the point we're working at right now, which the board will have the first round next week, probably Tuesday. Questions?
Discussion?
Concerns?
Herb,
Yes, ma'am.
can you please tell everybody, the residents, why and how we are not going to be losing any revenue during the 12-week closure?
I'm not saying we're not going to lose any revenue, but there's no impact to the residents just because of other savings that we've been able to save in other departments. We're going to have savings in our payroll because the pro shop staff will be laid off